Get to your phone calls coming up. Settle on a poll question. Got our play of the day coming up. Phone number 877-3DP Show. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle @DP Show. Commissioner of Major League Baseball since 2015, Rob Manfred, back on the program. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about ABS, but I want to know, how did we land on robo-umps? I don't like the phrase. It conjures up something that I think needs to be explained.
Yeah, Dan, it's interesting. I was with a couple of my guys traveling yesterday, and I said exactly the same thing, and I've said it repeatedly. The fact of the matter is the system was designed in order to preserve kind of the management role of the home plate umpire. It's completely invisible to the fan, right? In terms of there's no device or anything on the field that they can see. And all of the calls, including correcting an erroneous ball strike call, made by a human being from the fan's perspective. So, we do prefer the term ABS to robo-umps.
Okay, this is an entertainment business. Are you going to show anything on the Jumbotron? Like tennis will show you if the ball was in or out. What is baseball going to do?
We are going to have a rendering on the scoreboard so the fans can see it. At the end of the day, it is about the fan experience in the ballpark. And our experience in the minor leagues, as well as the testing we did in the spring and at the All-Star game, suggests that fans are really interested in seeing that rendering.
How do the umpires feel about Big Brother over their shoulder?
I would say the umpires have been generally cooperative on the issue. It's always tough when you get corrected publicly, and I understand that. It is important to say, although we've taken this step, our umpires do a phenomenal job on the vast, vast majority of calls. I think over time, this may reduce the amount of complaining we have about ball strike calls.
Okay, whenever I see something that we kind of dip our toes in and then all of a sudden we're in over our head, then this is going to be the future of Major League Baseball. How long will it take before this is the future?
That's an interesting question. I think that if you had talked just to the owners about this topic a couple of years ago, they would have been in favor of, calling every pitch. And we're certainly capable of doing that, calling every pitch with ABS. I think what made us take the intermediate step is we got a lot of input from players, particularly players who had used it in the minor leagues, that they preferred the challenge system, that, it preserved a human element in the game. At the major league level, we also got a lot of input about the significance of framing catchers and, individual players who had a skill set that could be really impacted by this. We took that input to heart and landed where we did. I think that we will see after the 26th season whether there's a push to go the whole way.
Why did we allow, as if it was part of the charm of baseball, that an umpire could have his own strike zone?
Yeah, going back to, when I first came to the commissioner's office in 1998, actually Sandy Alderson and I started the same day. And, one of the first things Sandy embarked on was an effort to get away from that notion that individual umpires could have their own strike zone. And we have dramatically increased the uniformity of the zone that's called by our umpires by having a computer-based system like ABS that we've been using to evaluate umpires for more than a decade. After each game, when they miss a call, they get that pitch, they have to log in and look at it, and it has produced greater uniformity.
Okay. But it was a charm, like that's Joe West strike zone, or that's Eric Gregg's strike zone.
Yeah, the problem is sometimes, you talk about people who are just too charming. I think there were games where that charm became excessive. I mean, I think Eric Gregg's game in the World Series is probably an example of that.
He's the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred. Okay, give me the data to help me understand starting the 10th inning with the runner at second base, which I do detest. But where are we with that? Is that here to stay, Commissioner?
Well, look, the most important thing I can say to you is starting next week, you're going to have postseason baseball where you play it out no matter what. So your month is coming. It's going to be a great postseason, and we're going to play the games out to keep you happy, Dan. Look, I think that was interesting. I'm not sure that was at the top of my priority list in terms of rule changes, but it came with the COVID changes that we, felt we needed to do to get through the season. The players really liked it. And I think the push to keep it was based on, player preference and avoidance of putting, really valuable players in positions of asking them to do something in extra innings that they didn't ordinarily do, the outfielder pitching. And, I do think it is consistent kind of with the notion that the game it has to be quicker to be responsive to the audience that we're serving in today's world.
But these leagues are becoming highlight leagues. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, said we're kind of a highlight league. How do you guard against that? Of just being a highlight and not going the experience of going to a game or watching a game?
I think we have a huge advantage in that effort, and it is an effort for all sports. I mean, you know how younger people consume things. We don't need to revisit that, but I think that our in-ballpark experience, largely due to the work of the individual teams and what they do in the stadiums, the entertainment they provide, the food and beverage options, what they do in between innings, is so good that it does create in people the desire to see the whole game, the whole product. And the fact that we play every day, also important in that regard. So we have some assets there, and it's something that we're really focused on.
When all the owners get together, how often does the topic of a salary cap come up?
It's interesting. It really is episodic. It's more frequent when you get closer to a labor year like we are now. I think it's natural for people to discuss, options that are available. I think what's really important for me to say is, we haven't decided what exactly our approach is going to be. We have a whole nother season to get through. And, while obviously there's conversation, it remains to be seen what substantive position the owners are going to take.
Where do you stand on it?
I think that it has been my view for a really long time that you sell competition to your fans. And that we need to always be looking for things that enhance the perception of competition. And I think one way to do that is reduce and regulate the disparity in payrolls that you have.
I also want to make sure that, the minimum spend, because some of these owners, they may not be spending as much as they need to. How do you
I think that's
that?
one thing. Yeah, well, I think that's one thing that is widely misunderstood. The name of the mechanism that people use in the other three sports is a salary cap, but a necessary element of that system is a minimum as well as a cap. And I agree with you that the minimum in some ways may be more important than the cap.
The Cal Raleigh story is a fun story, but how does baseball's, like your marketing arm, how do you approach a story like that to let people know he's playing in Seattle? He's hit 60 home runs. Great nickname there. How are you guys doing enough to promote some of these other stories?
Yeah, look, I think that it's really important with a story like Cal for Major League Baseball, in addition to the club, what the club is doing locally to promote that player, build his brand. We have a massive social media program now that is all player directed. Almost everything we do on social is player directed. You're going to see a set of postseason advertisements that'll start airing. Cal is prominently featured in that. Honestly, selecting him for the home run derby is another example. You want a player like that in a home run derby where he's going to get a national audience. I think going forward, one of the things that we are really focused on is more presence on national platforms for regular season games so that people across the country see more of players like Cal.
How important is gambling to Major League Baseball?
I think it's something that is really misunderstood. We have a nice little business where we sell data and we sell some sponsorships, but the overall revenue impact of gambling for us is really not significant. Actually, the biggest expenditure of time on the topic is working with our partners, the sports books, to make sure that gambling doesn't present an integrity issue for us over the long haul.
Are you allowed to have a man cave at home?
I do have a room that my wife has. It's a bedroom that she has reluctantly ceded to me. There is a lot of baseball stuff, a lot of golf stuff, and some exercise equipment. So I guess that qualifies. You can't quite have a cave in an apartment in New York. If there's something, it's sort of an oxymoron, right?
So you're not the commissioner in your own house.
Yeah, well, that's certainly true. That's certainly true.
Great to talk to you again.
Great to talk to you, Dan. Really, I hope because we'll be playing the games out, you'll be paying attention to what's going to be a great postseason for us. It's been a really exciting week this week trying to figure out who exactly is going to be there, and we're looking forward to some great series next week.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
That's Rob Manfred. He's been in that position since 2015, and I believe his term ends January of 29.